I was going into class, I was studying, I was mugging, I was churning whatever I studied onto my exam paper, but I knew that this was not education. If you love animals, why would you kill them? Why would you want to hurt them and put them on your plate? The journey has been a roller coaster, but not in a negative way. It's in a very, very fascinating way. Do business with your head and relationships with your heart. Think modern, but honor ancient wisdom. Live a balanced life, which is work, health, family, leisure, and personal time. Be completely fearless when it comes to thinking originally. Be fearless, be innovative.
I am your host Gaurav Garg and we welcome all our viewers to our show Amazing Mentor. Today with us is Miss Rugmani Prabhakar. She is currently Head Sustainable Development, The Art of Living. She comes with a long-standing grassroots experience from her role as National Director of Art of Living, Social Projects, and operationally managed self-funded and donor-funded projects of the Art of Living across all sectors of development. It's a pleasure to welcome Miss Rugmani Prabhakar to our show Amazing Mentor. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Gaurav. I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
My pleasure, ma'am. So tell us about your childhood and your favorite hobbies which you still enjoy.
Childhood was a lovely childhood. Grew up with a lot of family, with a lot of cousins and a lot of uncles and aunts. And it was a very loving environment. And the advantage of being a part of it was not a joint family. We had a nuclear family. I lived abroad with my father. He was a banker. But when we would come to India, it would be with loads and loads and loads of family. And I think you learn so much, the comfort, the security of being with lots of young people to play with, talk to. They were your confidants. Those very, very special days. And it was a special kind of a family in the sense that I know that my mother, she wasn't very educated. She barely finished school. But our home was always open to people, whatever they needed. She was a sevak in her heart. And the number of people that she's helped, the number of people that she's supported through her life. So we've always seen somebody or the other getting benefited because of our mother's, just the kind of person that she was. And when we would go to a temple, people would put money in the hundi, no? She would say, "Nay, God has enough." She would give money to all the beggars. And if we went to a wedding, if it was the wedding of a wealthy person, she wouldn't give them a gift. She says, "My blessings is enough." She would take that money and give it to somebody poor. So we saw the values there, and that influenced who all of us are in the family to a very large extent. In terms of hobbies, I have to tell you a very funny story, Gaurav. I was very fat when I was small. I was really fat. And I lived to eat. All I ever wanted to do was look forward from meal to meal. So much so that before we went out somewhere, my mother would stuff my face at home so that I don't embarrass her when we go outside. And it was my birthday and somebody had given me a big book called the Hans Andersen Fairy Tales. And I started reading a book one day, maybe late morning. And that was the day my mother was going to take us out for Chinese food. I love Chinese food. She told me, "Come, let's get ready. We're going out with my sister for Chinese food." I was reading. I looked at her and I said, "No, you go. I want to read." And I realized that that's what I loved doing more than anything else. I mean, if I had to love my books more than my food, it really must have been something amazing. So I became a reader and later I became a writer because of that passion I had for words. Yeah, so it's a hobby. It's my calling. I write better than I speak. And I really come into myself when I write, yeah.
Where did you completed your schooling from?
I didn't like education. I found it so boring. So boring. I got involved with everything else, every other extracurricular activity the school would have. Whether I won or not, for me, competition never was and is still not important. But I would participate in everything that would take place. And it's not that I didn't do well. I remember in my 11th standard, I topped class. As I went on into higher school, I began to get excited about studying also. And by the time I reached college, every year I was topping college, every year of college. But I used to say to myself, this is not education. I was going into class, I was studying, I was mugging, I was churning whatever I studied onto my exam paper, but I knew that this was not education. So if you really want to ask me about school and college, I did well, I participated, I was there in all the college festivals, debates, drama, writing, theatre, all of it. But I knew that the study part of it was not really the education that I wanted for.
How was your nature, introvert or extrovert?
Who's an introvert? Who's an extrovert? Gaurav, all of us are part introverts and part extroverts, right? Certain times of the day when you want to go out, when you want to reach out to the world, there are certain parts of the day that you want to go within. So I think we're all a combination of that. And I realized that depending on what I needed to be, the role that I needed to have in my life, I could adapt. I'm very happy being on my own. I get my energy being on my own. My work, whether it's writing or whether it's a swadhyay, I do a lot of swadhyay. All that gives me a lot of strength and a lot of energy, but I'm as comfortable being outside. So I think all of us are really partly introverts and partly extroverts. Yes.
What was your dream profession as a child, and how many times did it change by seeing inspirational people around?
I wanted to be a veterinary doctor. I loved animals. And I'd read books by authors called James Harriet and Jettle Durrell. I mean, some of our audiences who love animals too would understand what I'm talking about. And I wanted to be a veterinary doctor. It didn't turn out that way, but what it did make me do is it made me a vegetarian. Okay? So how that happened was much later in life. I used to love eating all kinds of food. I was in a workshop and I met some young girls and they said, Auntie, do you love animals? I said, I love animals. They said, do you eat meat? I said, yeah. So they said, if you love animals, how do you eat meat? And I said, oh, wow. So my love of animals, my wanting to be a veterinarian eventually turned to make me a vegetarian. And I think I've influenced a lot of people to start thinking this way, not just for ecological and environmental and global reasons, but also because if you love animals, why would you kill them? Why would you want to hurt them and put them on your plate?
Any notorious moment you remember which you would like to share on our show of your school or college time?
What was notorious about my college days? I think absolutely everything. I didn't live conventionally then, I don't live conventionally now. College, unlike today where institutions are particular about a certain amount of attendance, in our days attendance was not so important. So long as you had a minimum amount of attendance and came up with good marks, which I did. I came up with very good marks. They really didn't care. But with the rest of the time, I went out and picked up experiences. We were involved in all kinds of activities. We represented the college in so many different activities. And while sitting in class, I used to sit in my statistics class or the business classes, and I used to think to myself, this is not education. What I really thought was education is what we did outside college, because that was where we really discovered ourselves, who we are, what we want to do in life. We engaged with people, we developed ourselves, engaged skills, and became very powerful when we had to engage with the rest of the world in our professional lives. So those years were very, very important to me, not just from an academic perspective, sure, that was there, but from the fact that that's where real life experiences happened.
What was the first reaction of your parents when they came to know about your first job?
Gaurav, we were born very late into my parents' lives. When I was born, my father was already 46 years old. So by the time I finished school, he retired. And after that, I became like the son of the house. They would rely on me for everything. And I became very responsible at that point. And my father was so proud of anything that I did, whether it was all the activities, whether it was my writing. And when I got my first job, I went back and it was just the same. He lived through the happiness that I brought inside the house. So yes, when I told them, whether it was not just a job, even when I would get my marks year after year, when I would go to the notice board and look at the board and I would see that I'd got the highest marks, and I would run, there was no mobile phone. I would run to the nearest telephone, pick up and tell them, first class, I topped the class. I know I made them so happy. It's my first job, and all my achievements are something that my father celebrated. Yeah.
Where did you started your career journey from?
I think my career started in college. As a journalist, we started a college magazine, we started in an intercollegiate magazine. So I think a part of my thinking was there, even though I did business in college, I knew that I wanted to be a writer. I knew that I wanted to be a journalist. So when I finished college, I went to a newspaper that had just started in Bangalore and was run by a very famous editor called TJS George. He's one of the most reputed editors who've come out of India. He's worked at a global level, and I walked into his office and I said, I want to be a reporter here. And he said, do you have a degree in journalism? I didn't. I had a degree in business. So I said, no. But I said, if you want me, I'll go and get a degree and come back. He said, no, then I'll have to unteach you everything that they teach you. He says, I will train you. And I got the job. The job was actually as a campus editor. I was in charge of the campus page. So the same college that I went to as a student, now I went back as a journalist and had lots of fun.
What all challenges did you face while the starting level of your career?
Gaurav, I have a good mind. So even if there is a problem, I don't see it as a problem. And in my mind, I quickly convert every difficult situation into something that is, okay, now what do I need to do? So I don't let a challenge stay as a challenge. I quickly see now what is it that I need to resolve. So if you ask me if I really had to look back and think of what challenges I faced, honestly, nothing to write home about. I think it was a dream phase in my life. I was a cub reporter. Those days, it was not digital. The printing was done on the basement of our office, where they had those offset printers, those huge printers, where there was actually somebody manually sitting and putting each alphabet into place. Yeah, manually, yeah. So right through the week, I would go around interviewing people or assigning stories to people. Then I would sit and create the page layout with the artist and lay the page out. And then I would go downstairs to the printers. And, the birth of a page is something very special that only old-timers like us would understand. We would stand there and that entire machine would close. And when it opened, the printer would take out the first sheet of the page that I was doing. And the feeling week after week after week was such an incredible feeling. So if you ask me, it's a long time ago. If I had to look back at a memory, I don't think of the negative things. I just think of these amazing experiences, and life has come so far then. I just have to say something right now. I remember those days I had a Remington typewriter and I used to type, and if something would go wrong, I would have to remove it and start typing again. And I said, I just wish I had a machine that I could pick up this paragraph and put it there. Or I could move this paragraph and look at the things that we can do on computers right now.
Who is your mentor in life?
There are guiding lights that are there for you on an everyday basis. There's somebody, something that's telling you something that's important for you to hear. But if I really had to identify one person as a guiding light for me, it would be Sri Ravi Shankar Ji, the founder of Art of Living. And I met him, it's almost been 24 years, in 1997 for the first time. Till then, I was a hardcore journalist. I'd interviewed people from all over the world, the smartest and the most renowned people, politicians, heads of governments, heads of industry and business. And when I met Sri Ravi Shankar Ji for the first time, I said, oh my God, here's a person that's so simple and so wise. And he spoke so gently and so softly. I liked him very much.
You started your career as a journalist. What thought struck your mind which made you shift to a social worker?
So the transition happened because of a couple of very tragic things that happened in my life. We lost very dear members of our family who passed away because of mental health issues. And I remember thinking to myself that even if we had nothing in life, if we didn't have all the wealth and all the success that people are running and chasing after, if we just knew how to take care of our mind and emotion, that would be the greatest wealth. And in 1997, when I first did the Art of Living course, and understood how the depth of understanding and wisdom there was to understand the nature of the mind. What is it that makes the mind behave the way it does? What are simple adjustments if we make to the way we think, how we can have a huge shift from stress and anxiety into living a much more wholesome life. And then learn the breathing techniques through which suddenly the stress that I was experiencing lifted and I felt such tremendous peace. So I thought to myself that writing I will do. I mean, that is a communication skill. It's very powerful, but let me do it to actually save the lives of people. So I made sure that after that, I became a teacher of art of living. And what happened to these members of my family who passed away due to mental illness, I said that should never happen to anybody else. And then once I started working to transform the lives of people through breathing and meditation techniques, I found that suddenly people their lives were so fulfilled from the stresses and anxieties that they had so much more happiness in their lives. And when they had happiness, they wanted to give back. So it was a natural progression from stress, anxiety, a difficult life, to a happy, fulfilled, enriched, more energized life, and then wanting to make a transformation to the lives of others. So that's how the transition happened. But my writing never left me. Writing was always an important communication tool for me.
As you have mentioned about writing is starting also, and you feel more happy about writing than speaking. So any future plan to author any book?
You know, every person imagines that one day they'll author a book, but I have no idea. I have no idea about that. Writing is a passion. The amount of work that goes into authoring and marketing a book is fantastic. If somebody will do the hard work for me, I will write them the best story ever.
Best of luck for your love of writing. So what's that one thing you love about your profession the most?
Gaurav, my work is in rural India. I have traveled a lot into very remote areas and seen the transformation that has happened in the lives of people there. And you know, when I'm with them, living with them, eating with them, talking to them, celebrating with them, there is so much of a feeling of connection with the heart of India. So if you ask me what I love best about the kind of work that I do, is the time that I spend with the most vulnerable people of India and being a part of their transformation. That's really the happiest moments for me in the work that I do.
You have vast experience of 28 plus years. How is your journey till date?
The journey has been a roller coaster, but not in a negative way. It's in a very, very fascinating way. So my journey is not linear. No? It's not like get to an organization at an entry level and then you keep being promoted and you reach a certain top position. My journey is not linear. In fact, it's completely responsive. What I've done is I've changed what I do depending on what I needed to do in life. It's not what I wanted to do in life, but what needed to happen for not just for me, but for the people around me. So whatever I did, I made sure that they were tools of transformation, whether it was my writing, whether it was my meditation, whether it is this developmental work I do, I made sure that they were tools of transformation. As a result of that, it's very enriching. When you're working with people, when you're working with transformation, and when what drives you is passion, what drives you is the true feeling that you want to make people happy. If you ask me what my years of experience has been about, that's what my years of experience has been about. Okay, I often tell people that there is a formula to be depressed. Yeah, suppose nobody wants to know a formula to be depressed, but I always challenge people. If you really want to be depressed, what should you do? And then people say, what kind of a question is that? Yeah. And then I tell them, if you really want to be depressed, just sit in a corner and think to yourself, what about me? What about me? What about me? You'll definitely get depressed. But if you go out in the world to help somebody else, you will not get depressed. So helping people is really twofold weapon of goodness. You help yourself and you help the people around you. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. That's pretty much what I've been telling people. So in a nutshell, that's what these years have been. And it's more than 28 years.
Any particular moment you would like to share in your professional journey, which is heart-touching?
Because of the nature of my work, Gaurav, so many things are heart-touching. Actually, almost all my work is related to the heart. But there's one story that I want to share about when I was in Dubai. I was teaching a course and there was this Russian boy, he must have been in his mid-20s. He had come for the course and he was sitting right at the back, very morose. And it's a 6-day course. The Art of Living course was a 6-day course. And on the first day, he was sitting right at the back. He wouldn't make eye contact with me. His head was down. And I said, okay. And then I started speaking. I started taking them through these pranayams and these breathing techniques. On the second day of the course, he came slightly forward. On the third day of the course, he was sitting in the middle of the class. On the fourth day of the course, he had come even more forward. On the last day of the course, he was right up in front. His face was shining like a 1,000-watt bulb. And in our courses, Gaurav, at the end of the course, we asked people to come and share their experiences. So he said, before he came for the course, he was planning on how to go to the shooting range, get a gun and shoot himself. He said there were so many tragedies in his life. And he met somebody, another Russian. They were on the beach and this girl was roller coasting. She asked him, what are you going to do? Now, he couldn't tell her, obviously, what his plan was. But she said, I'm going for this Art of Living course. Would you like to come with me? So he said, what the heck? I mean, I've got nothing to lose anyway. I'm planning to go and kill myself. He came for the course. After he did the course, he became a volunteer with me. Every course I did, he would be sitting there, organizing the cushions, organizing the mats. He went for a teacher's training program. Today, he's one of the best teachers that I know. So his life is completely transformed. He married. He has beautiful children. He runs a fantastic business. He travels the world. Every time I look at him, I even spoke to him a few days ago, and he's with his wife and his children. Every time I look at him, a tear comes down my eyes.
From Dubai or say corporate culture to social work, how difficult was the transaction?
Not really corporate culture. Dubai, yeah, I agree. In Dubai, it's a very different kind of a society. And it's a wealthier society. So you don't actually see sadness or poverty anywhere, though there are problems of a different kind. But I lived there for about 20 years. And when I came back to India, Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar Ji told me, Rukmani, now you head social projects for India. So I said, what? I said, Gurudev, I've been out of the country for 20 years. So much has changed. I don't even speak Hindi properly. And the whole scenario, the whole landscape here in terms of development has changed. And I don't know anybody. But, in his style, he said, you'll be able to manage. And he left. And the first project that I did was UNICEF-funded project in Bihar against child marriage. And I went there and we were working with young people, young boys and girls who got married when they were 7 and 8 and 10. And they were fathers and mothers themselves. And they had come to this workshop that we were conducting on empowerment. So, and many of the women were really from very, very traditional backgrounds. And I said, why have you all come here? They said, see, we have to become empowered. So what happened to us, it doesn't happen to our children. So this was my first exposure, and this is interesting. I've studied Hindi in college. I topped class. I've mugged very well. So I topped class, but I had short-term memory. I didn't remember very well. But when I stood up to start speaking to them, Hindi just flowed. And that's been my experience wherever I travel. When finally I have to stand up and speak to the people that I'm working for, the language just flows. Then I realize it's really not the language of the head, it's the language of the heart. Because people hear and they resonate with that. It was very interesting because also after that, the Companies Act was amended, making CSR mandatory for companies. And suddenly there was a lot of money that was coming into the developmental sector. And we still have an amazing set of volunteers who work with integrity, passion, commitment, but none of them knew how to work with donor funds. I mean, they're all volunteers, ordinary people, businessmen and accountants and housewives. I mean, they didn't know how to work in a professional manner. So it was so interesting for us at that point to build the capacity of our teams and actually prepare them to work in donor-funded projects. We trained them on understanding what project management was, how to manage donor money, on monitoring, evaluation, reporting. And today, these people that we've trained are winning awards, national awards for the work that they're doing. So it's been a fantastic experience.
Where do you get the motivation every day to face day-to-day challenges?
I meditate, Gaurav. I wake up in the morning. Meditation is not a luxury. I can't even begin moving ahead in my day without meditating. I get up in the morning and I sit and do my practices and I go into deep states of meditation. So the couple of things that happen at that point. At one level, a lot of things that I have to resolve for the day gets resolved in that meditative state because there's a lot of silence within. You know, sometimes we get caught in the world outside because we're not able to process a situation in our minds properly. But when in that silence, you're able to see a lot of things, you're able to understand a lot of things, and a lot of the challenges of the day are already processed at that level. Another thing that happens is in deep states of meditation, anxieties, stresses, worries begin to fall off, and there is complete stillness. And from that stillness, you're able to see the world from a much, much bigger perspective. Your mind doesn't get caught in small things. Your mind begins to see things in a much bigger perspective. So what is it that drives me? Everything in life that drives me. I'm excited about everything that happens in life. But the foundation for that is that hour and a half I spend in the morning in a deep state of meditation.
So tell us about your roles and responsibility as Director, Sustainable Development, the Art of Living.
You know, when I was heading social projects for India, I had a lot of grassroots experience. I met a lot of people, a lot of influencers, policy makers, people from government, people from the panchayat, people from the ground, the beneficiaries, the people who were actually impacted. I had a bird's eye view that not many people had. And when I would travel across India, people would ask me, you art of living people, how do you do what you do? You know, the kind of transformation that we are able to make is something that they've not seen. How we are able to impact lives, how in just a course of, say, 7 days or 10 days, people who are drug addicts and alcoholics and people who have been shunned by society after going through our leadership training programs, how they become empowered, how they take on responsibility in their communities or their villages, and how they become leaders of transformation themselves. So people used to ask me, how do you do what you do? How are you able to scale? How are you able to reach so many people? How are you able to transform people and make them leaders of change? So these were the questions that came to me. So I realized that in my role, I needed to tell the story. This was where my role as a storyteller, as a writer came in. I needed to tell this story, but I can't tell it like a fictional book because nobody would read that. So I needed to tell it in the framework of a global structure that developmental agencies and funders recognized. And currently, the global framework is the Sustainable Development Goals, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. This is a brilliant framework that recognizes 7 goals across all boundaries. Beyond, there's no question of countries and political boundaries here. It really saw humanity as a whole. It really saw the planet as a whole. And we found that what we were doing had an exact match with the Sustainable Development Goals. So my work right now as Head of Sustainable Development is to create, I've already created that narrative of the work that we've done in this global framework. And we are leveraging that to create national and global partnerships.
As you have told that meditation is not luxury, it's necessity of life. So what message would you like to give to our audience as far as meditation is concerned?
I would ask the audience to, if you're not meditating as yet, to look into the internet, to look for the nearest Art of Living course and join the course and learn to meditate. So this would be my request. Yeah, it's worked for me. There are lots of amazing courses. I've not done them, but I can only recommend what has worked for me. So what's worked for me is the Art of Living course, and I would strongly recommend that.
What all are do's and don'ts you suggest while starting your career journey?
There are 3 things that come to mind when starting your journey. Not just your career journey, because your career is not separate from your life itself, from your personal life, from your social life. So a couple of things that I would recommend. One is, do business with your head and relationships with your heart. Don't mix your business and your relationships. Don't mix your head with your heart. So motto number 1, business with your head, relationships with your heart. The second is, think modern but honor ancient wisdom. There are people who are much wiser than us, who for thousands and thousands of years have really understood the nature of the mind. And they have so much wisdom to share with us. So while absolutely think afresh, think new, rely on yourself for answers, but also honor ancient wisdom and see what you can get. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. See what you can get from our seers of the past. And the third is, live a balanced life, which is work, health, family, leisure, and personal time. Personal time is for meditation and self-growth. So many people in the race for your professional life forget everything else. You forget to spend time with your parents. You forget to spend time with your family, with your friends. Yeah, these are all relationships of the heart. While you're growing professionally, also keep a balance between your head and your heart. Make sure that you spend time with people important to you. Take care of your health, fitness, yoga, running around. Do all that. Lead a balanced life. So these are the 3 things that come to my mind.
Advice you would like to give to young generation who want to opt for social work as their career?
Be experimental. Be innovative. Go into the field. Live with the people there. Work with them. See what their challenges are. Think innovation. If you've got a professional qualification, see how you can use the skills that you have to come up with innovation for the people and create transformations. Be completely fearless when it comes to thinking originally. Yeah, some of the biggest transformations have happened because people have thought originally. Like you, Gaurav, where did you get this idea to call people and start asking? It's original. This is an original thought that you came up with, yeah? So whatever field you are in, especially in social work, I think this word jugaad is such a good word. It's been used negatively, I know that, but go there, get into the most vulnerable parts of rural India where nobody can go, where nobody can reach. Go there, become one of them, yeah? Don't go there as an outsider who knows better than them, because there's so much to learn from them. There's so much to learn from the people of the earth. Go work with them, be with them, learn from them and give them what you have, yeah? Be fearless, be innovative.
Advice you would like to give to young generation who want to opt journalism as their career?
Ethical journalism. The most important thing I think today is ethical journalism. My advice is to root for an ethical approach, root for ethical solutions, truth and accuracy, independence, fairness and impartiality, humanity, accountability. I think that really is a need for today. It is ethical journalism.
Now we will start a rapid round.
Sure.
Your favorite actor and actress?
Actor in Hollywood, Tom Hanks. In Bollywood, Amir Khan. My favorite actress in Hollywood is Meryl Streep, and in Bollywood it's Vidya Balan.
Your favorite color?
The deep colors of earth. The reds, the browns, the greens, sky blue. Any color of earth is a favorite color.
Your favorite destination?
A silent place within myself. That's where I want to be.
Your favorite car?
Any car that does not run on fossil fuel, I'll go for it.
Things in your wish list?
Travel, friendships, working with the soil on our farm. We have a family farm, and writing.
Your dream house?
Not a house, Gaurav, a home. A house is just 4 walls. A home with lots of plants, healthy organic food on the table, loads of love and warmth, and great conversations.
Second choice of career?
A full-time writer of fiction and non-fiction.
If you get hold of time machine, which phase of your life would you like to roll back?
I think I would go back to the time that I first became a mother, when I had my first child. Becoming a mother, I have 2 children, 2 beautiful children. I think you really experience unconditional love when you become a mother. So I think I would go back to that moment when I looked at my child and felt more love than I'd ever felt in my life.
If you get superpower, what you would like to change?
If I could make one rule that would be mandated for every human being on earth, it would be that everyone would meditate for just 20 minutes every day.
At last, one line that defines you.
My truth has been my journey. It's a journey not alone. It's a journey rich and abundant, of paths untread, of paths unknown.
The energy and glow on your face clearly tells the importance of meditation in life. It was a pleasure talking to you and listening to the advices and challenges of your life. It was a pleasure to have you on our show. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gaurav. I so enjoyed this conversation with you.
My pleasure, ma'am. Thank you for watching Amazing Mentor. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button to get regular updates. Thank you very much.